here we've got a lead sound, a fat Macho Man Randy Savage sound. You can see we got some automation. I've got a little bit on filter 2. This is on filter 1. One of the great things about Fruity Loops is these envelopes, which are blow up to full screen, and they can be controlled with LFOs, and they're very accurate. So that's one of the things I like about Fruity Loops. So that's here on the cutoff filters, and you can hear that this sound is just completely full spectrum, right? Okay, so we need to make some room for that, and where your brain would probably normally go is sidechain compress it, but we can do something better inside of Fruity Loops, and it's pretty easy to set up. So I've got my kick going to track 10. If we go to track 10 here, we can bring in the Fruity Peak controller. All right, they call it FL Studio, and then everything's still Fruity in it. Let's take a look at what it's doing. Is basically peak detection. It's just looking at the volume coming in, and then that's going to generate a controller output. So this is on the input side. All right, and we can see that it's following it very accurately. You see these little bumps in the signal. We don't want it to be that tight. We want it to be a bit smoother. So let's go ahead and play with the decay here. Okay, that's basically what I want. I want it to peak and then go all the way to the bottom, and then I want it to basically, in this situation, look like a sawtooth wave. All right, so I've got that set up correctly. Let's go to the destination. I've got Macho Man here as lead growl on track 1, and I'm going to put in, instead of just something to drop the volume, I'm going to EQ out the bass, and I'm going to do it dynamically. If you played around with doing this with sidechaining into a multi-band compressor, you know that you can take a particular band, in this case would be the bass frequencies, and you duck the whole thing, right? Just like this. But I'm talking about using basically a notching EQ, and in this case I'll probably use a shelf and just sweep up from the bottom and remove the bass, and that's going to create a little bit of movement there, as well as make room for the bass in the kick. So I'm just going to use parametric EQ. I'm going to pull this value down below where we're not going to hear it. This is at 10 hertz, and then I'm going to kill this band. All right, so now it's not going to be affecting it, right? Because this is below where we can even hear. And just to check that it can do something, let's move it up. All right, it squelches it. That's the way we talk about that squelchy sound. So let's make it dynamically squelch the Macho Man. I'm going to right click on this parameter. I'm going to say map link to controller. All right, which controller? It was the peak controller. This is probably not the mapping formula I want. Let's just take a listen to what this is going to do. This is going to be way too drastic. It actually is kind of cool sounding, but let's say we didn't want that to be that dramatic. Maybe actually, let's say that we want it to be pretty transparent and just remove the bass from it. So let's go back to it, and let's say, well, the input comes in. This is on the receiving end. So before we were taking we were adjusting how does the decay characteristics work on the input side into the formula controller. Okay, now on the output side, we're taking the input and we're going to do a simple math function to that. Let's say something like take the input and divide it by 3. Okay, this is what that looks like. Still linear, right? But divided by 3. Let's accept that. Let's take a listen. Right, cool. More transparent, but is also ducking out the bass from it. Now let's take a listen to that in the context of this pattern. Unsolo that. Okay, sounds pretty good. This would be a before after. Bit muddier. Okay, this is a very powerful controller that you can map to all sorts of different parameters. They have some built-in mapping formulas in here, but I mean this is a simple division, right? So it's often faster and more accurate just to put in the mapping formula yourself on the receiving end. All right, hope you enjoyed the video.
If you're an aspiring music producer and ready to evolve your sound, find out more about our San Francisco Ground Campus, online classes, and one-on-one mentorships at Pyramind.com.